Brian Polarsky with Buy Insurance Better. Let's talk about a tool that many use to decide on what risks to retain and what risks to transfer. And it is a decision matrix based on severity of the impact or risk and the probability of it. So think of a vertical axis as the severity line, and then think of the horizontal axis as the probability or likelihood that things are going to occur line. And when these things come together, to help frame and categorize a couple different ways for us to look at risk and decide, are we going to keep it or are we going to transfer that and buy insurance to get protection on the more catastrophic end? So on the vertical axis, we are going to look at the impact to the organization or to you as an individual. Is the impact going to be minor? And as we move up this scale, is it going to be more severe and catastrophic? The lower or the minor, I think this is common sense, we're going to retain that risk. As we get higher and higher up, we want to find ways to transfer and mitigate that risk so that the business can continue to survive if there's an event, and we'd have financial support, or the individual will have financial support. Think of health insurance and a major medical event. And then the horizontal axis we have is the likelihood, the probability of things going to happen. So this comes together and forms kind of like four main quadrants on how to really categorize risk from what we could know. In the lower left quadrant, where the severity line comes together with the probability line or likelihood line, is we have this first corner where it's low impact, unlikely to occur, so not a big deal. We can retain that. That makes common sense. We often see this on deductibles anyway, so that kind of takes care of itself. But in that same bucket, if we move over to the more likelihood sign on the horizontal scale, then we see that, again, it's a low impact to us, but it's more likely to occur. We want to make sure that we put in strategies to help manage that risk. So, hey, it's more likely this is going to happen. So let's think about workers' compensation and different types of job work that is. So there's certain type of work where over time it's more and more likely that someone might get hurt doing something. So there might be things, but again, low impact. There might be things that we can do, such as cutting things in the kitchen. You might have cutting knives, you might have sharper blades, you might have other types of little small things to again, manage that risk as the likelihood continues, but the overall impact most likely is going to be low. And then we move into as we get up higher, going back to the severity scale, as we get up higher into the more medium impact and then the higher to catastrophic impact, we're really starting to get to this buy insurance blue zone, so to speak. So it's a rare event on the probability scale, or unlikely or not really likely to happen, yet the impact is medium to very severe. That's the perfect spot to buy insurance. Often you're there after deductible, or you're there at, for certain types of perils like flood and earthquake and windstorm, things like this. This is where this bucket really comes in. And then as you go on to the likelihood scale, so you're staying on the severe impact, catastrophic, and then the likelihood gets more and more and more, you're really coming into the general principles of the no-go zone, the avoid the exposure. And that's going to be the very high likelihood that something extremely catastrophic is going to happen. One, the insurance companies most likely aren't going to offer insurance on that. And two, like say that's a good example, that could be a flood zone. And if you're located in a flood zone, insurance companies know that there's a high likelihood you're not going to be a flood, so you have to buy flood through the National Flood Insurance Program. You might want to avoid that exposure. This is an example. Talk with your advisors about, what are you retaining? What are the likelihood strategies that you could implement on those things that might happen? And then, are you buying this insurance for the catastrophic, yet maybe unlikely events? And are you optimized at that level at the right price, at the right coverages? Brian Polarsky with Buy Insurance Better.